This video will go over how to graph a parabola that is in standard form. Very first thing we need to realize is that we have y squared is equal to something x to the 1 power. That means we're going to have one value for x and two values for y. So our parabola either opens to the right or our parabola opens to the left. Because we have a negative sign in front of the x, then we know that it opens to the left. So the first thing we need to find is going to be our vertex. To determine our vertex, we need to get the x component for our vertex will be 1. We set that parentheses equal to 0. We do the same thing for the y parentheses and we find that y is equal to 2, and this is our vertex. So that's the point 1, 2. When we graph that, that will be right here. The next thing that we need to do is to find out what P is. Remember that 4P or 4A, depending on which book you use, is whatever number that's in front of the x. So in our case, 4A is equal to -1. That means A is equal to -1/4. That kind of goes with our idea that our parabola opens to the left. So from our vertex, we're going to go 1/4 to the left to find our focus. So that's going to be right here. From there, we know that 4P or 4A is our latus rectum, the absolute value of that. So I need to go half up and half down from my focus. That gives me these 3 points for our parabola thus far. So far we have found the focus was 1/4 in, so that's going to be 3/4, 2. That's our point for our focus. The length of the latus rectum was 1. And then the last thing we need to find is the equation for the directrix. Remember that if we went 1/4 to the left to find the focus, we go 1/4 to the right, and that will be our directrix. So it will be 1 plus the 1/4. We can see that that's going to be the x is equal to 1 1/4 or 5/4. But we have found the directrix. We have found our vertex. We have found our foci. We need to go find 2 more points. So one way to do that is to either plug in values for x and solve for y, or plug in values for y and solve for x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and plug in a value for y. So I am going to plug in y is equal to, and I get to pick any numbers greater than 3 or greater or less than 1. I'm going to let y is equal to 0 and see what happens. When I do that, I have 0 minus 2 is -2, squared is 4, and that has to equal to a negative x minus 1. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative, so I get -4 is equal to x minus 1. I'm going to add 1. I'm going to get -3 is equal to x. So we found one value is when x is equal to -3, y is equal to 0. By using the axis of symmetry that's found right here that goes through the vertex, through the focus, and perpendicular to the directrix, using my axis of symmetry, I know I can go up 2 spots to here. So I have found 5 points for my parabola. And that concludes this video.